Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest here today, Shea Pierre, who is a pro speed, strength, and agility coach. Shea, welcome to Sport Chat. Thanks for doing this, and I'm very excited to speak with you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Vince. I know it's been a while. I've been trying to coordinate this, and I'm happy to be on. I've heard nothing but great things. I've been, going on your podcast, listen to all the amazing guests, and it's an honor to be on here and chat with you today.
Awesome. Thanks, Shea. So, Shea, you started as a professional football player, and then you became a pro skill, speed, strength, and physical conditioning coach. Tell us about your story.
Yeah, so I don't know how long it's going to be, but I can take it real. I can take it far back, but it all started for me. Like, man, I had to love and passion to play football. Like I started when I was in grade 6, and from then on, my goal, my dreams, my aspirations in life was to play in CFL, in the Canadian Football League, and that's where my mind was set. That's where I was locked in. I had tunnel vision, and that's just what I wanted to do. And when I hit high school, that's when it started to come a little bit more to fruition. The scouts started to come when I was in grade 11 and 12, and I started to get a lot of interest from a lot of schools in all around Canada. And I knew if I wanted to take my game to that next level, I had to do things, above and beyond what everybody else was doing. And I always had a natural drive and a desire to be great. It's just, who I am, the people I surround myself with. My family's always been, great positive influence in my life, telling me I could do this and, anything you can do, set your mind to it, reach for the stars. And when you have a great family and great friends supporting you, you're limitless. And I always tell my athletes that surround yourself with like-minded people. So I had a great support system. So it kind of built me, it molded me, and it shaped me into somebody that was just a go-getter. And so when I was in grade 11, that's when I really started to take fitness and training to that next level. And I had really no idea what I was doing, but I just knew I wanted to get better. So at that time, YouTube was starting to really shape and mold, and you could go on there and just kind of type in speed, agility, and all those stuff. And so I got kind of hooked on what we call Nike Spark. It was the biggest thing at the time. You could go to Nike Spark camps all around the world and kind of get your 40-yard dash, your 5-10-5, your vertical, all that stuff. And so they also had a training system, and where they had speed ladders, agility cones, so much stuff that you could use to help build your game and build your toolbox and your skills. And so I actually got some money at one Christmas. I got about $200, and then I went online and I bought their whole system. I got all their speed agility ladders. I got their cones. I got their med balls. I got their, the rapid release speed core that they sold. And I got all this stuff, and it came with DVDs. So when those DVDs came a couple weeks later, I watched them in its entirety over and over and over and over and over. And all it was body weight exercises, quick, fast footwork, all that kind of stuff that would if you're an athlete that has no equipment or anything, that's a great starting point. So I studied it, and then I called all my friends at my school, and I was like, hey, we got to start this training. Meet me at school around 6 a.m. We'll just get in there. We'll start working like that. And that's where really, I always tell people, that's where I really started to train people. And I had no idea that I was a trainer at that time. I just knew that I loved to train, and I had a whole bunch of kids that had the same dream and goals, and they came and trained with me. And it's a funny story because 5 of those guys that came and trained with me, we all made the CFL. We all went to the same high school, and all those guys that came and trained with me, and we were running the school hallways, running the stairs, jumping the stairs, push-ups, planks, all that stuff. It all started with that. So then I kind of pursued it, went to university, got my degree in psychology and sports, played 5 years at University of Windsor. I was fortunate enough to become an all-star. It didn't go my way when I went to training camp, ended up getting cut. It was great. I had to fight some adversity, had to fight some battles, all that kind of stuff you would kind of push through as an athlete. I didn't make it the first time. Ended up going back to school, play my 5th year. Had a really good year, another all-star year. Then got picked up by the Edmonton Eskimos, played a few years there, got cut. Then I played for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for half a season. Then I was about to go back. I got cut again. But in the meanwhile, when I was in the CFL, I always knew that I wanted to become a trainer of some sort. Was it like a private trainer, go to a gym and be a personal trainer, strength coach? I just knew I wanted to get back in there and help athletes grow, especially because now I had not only the physical tools and the know-how and the knowledge to help athletes, but I also had a background in, playing at a very high level, and I could go and I could show them all the mistakes that I made along the way, both positive and negative, and things that they could, do better at to make it to that next level. And so I actually started. So this is where it all kind of begins now. So I started my business from my basement. So I have about a 500 square foot basement. We're actually in the basement right now. It's actually renovated. But this is where I started. It was literally skin and bones. There was nothing down here. It wasn't renovated. It was leaking everywhere. And I literally just kind of took all the money that I made from the CFL, which was about, not much, because I was on the practice roster for majority of my career. So I might have saved up like $12,000 in that time period in a few years. Took that money and I just put a squat rack here, some dumbbells here, a treadmill there, just kind of all the odds and ends you would need. And at that time I said, I don't think anybody's ever going to come to my basement to come train with me. But the goal was, just let's just get a couple athletes in here that truly believe that they can take their game to that next level. And I had to get a lot of confidence in myself, and really fight some demons that really believe that I was not only good enough, but great enough to train people in the basement that maybe didn't look like the state-of-the-art facility. I went and I started to volunteer my time at my old high school. I spent the whole season there. At the end of the season, I just asked the coach, can I ask a few of the kids if they can come train with me, and I'll charge them next to nothing if they want to come. Lord behold, 2 kids actually emailed me back. They came and started to train with me. Long story short, actually one of those kids actually just got drafted to the CFL. He's been with me for the entire time. Me and him have molded each other, not only me into a great coach, but him into an unbelievable athlete. But those 2 kids came and trained with me, and they got such great results that more kids, because those are your walking resumes. So if those kids are getting results and I poured everything I had into them, they would come here and literally they're paying me like $10 for a training session, but they were here for like 3-4 hours. So I was basically making like $250 an hour. And that's all I was making for like the month. So those 2 kids were coming. I was making like maybe $80, $100 a month. But it wasn't about the money. It was about getting those kids to where they needed to be and taking their game to that next level and helping them, with all their dreams and goals and aspirations. And they did so well that they were my walking resume, and other athletes started to come. And by the time I knew it, I had like 60, 70 athletes down here. I had a full team in my basement, and I was bursting at the seams. And literally then I had to go, seek out space, rental space. We're literally, now we're in COVID, but before COVID, I had about 500 athletes training with us in only 3 years of building the business. But that's because I would never take no as an answer. I would go knock on different organizations' doors, tell them what I could offer them. I'd go at the fields, waiting at the gate for games to finish, handing up my cards, handing my resumes. I'd walk around. I see a kid on the street. I say, man, you look like an athlete. Do you play anything? Here's a card. Here's my Instagram. Check this out. I do, God knows, everything I could to just seek out athletes. And, most people just won't do that kind of stuff. And I did a lot of free work. I always worked for free for, as much as I could get out there to show what I had and my capabilities as a trainer. And a lot of people won't do that. I got a lot of friends that have master's degrees, and they will not do anything for free. But yet to this day, they still have no clients, right? So it doesn't matter. You got to get out there, and you got to have a personality, and you got to be able to grind, and you got to be able to work. You got to be able to hustle. You got to be able to get down on your hands and knees, and you got to literally get down and just do things for free. And that will literally take you to that next level. Because at the end of the day, I never started this to make a lot of money. I started this to really help people. And I think that's what allowed me to grow so fast.
What a success story. That is so cool. I was researching your story, Shay. When I was reading it, it was really cool. But now even just speaking with you about it, it's amazing. Like, congratulations on all your success. But you mentioned that you got cut from the CFL, and just in my own experience with hockey, like I was cut twice in AAA, and you mentioned that you started your business to help people, and that's the reason why I started this, was because I have a student coming out of sport management trying to get a job in the industry. I thought, how cool would it be to speak with industry professionals for people to get that insight and knowledge. So I think our stories are similar, but also very different, which is really cool. So Shay, you recently became a father, so I want to ask you, with having a little one at home, how has fatherhood changed you, and how do you take that into coaching now?
Yeah, so I have a 2-year-old. He's just his birthday was June 1st, so he just recently turned 2, and I have a 6-month-old. And my 2-year-old, I really didn't get to spend a lot of quality time with him at the beginning because I was, always training, always away, always on business, always doing so much. And so when COVID hit, and my son, my 6-month-old, he was born February 26th, so just before COVID really started to hit. So we actually got to go to the hospital. Whole family was there. If it was a couple of weeks later, it might have just been me and my wife. Nobody would have been there. But because of that, and we kind of got to, take a little bit of time to kind of recoup, relax, and everybody's got to go. And because of health issues, we kind of shut down everything. It's given me a time to really reflect and relax and kind of sit back and really get to spend a lot more quality time with my family, which I didn't get to do before. And it feels really good because, these are moments in your life that you never get back. And I was missing a lot of them. And, unfortunately, I won't get that time back with my other son, but now I get to see my youngest son grow, mature. I get to see his smiles every morning. I get to wake them up in the morning. I get to put them to bed. So many things I couldn't do before, but that's all part of growing a business and, trying to take it to that next level. And that I will always understand because I don't get sleep now, and I probably won't get sleep for a very long time, but spending time with family should be the number one priority. And I think it allowed me to kind of take a step back and kind of rescan everything that I was doing and kind of put that back in. And, kind of sucks that now you have to rethink that and be like, man, what was I doing before? But again, you got to give and take. And, some things that, unfortunately, if you want to grow a business, a lot of people that are, going on your podcast could probably relate, or people listening to this, you can relate. And so it's good now that I get to kind of settle back and I don't have to do as much, and I get to reap the rewards of watching my children grow up.
Shea, did you have to adjust like your business model because of COVID? And I saw a lot of trainers train virtually. Did you do that? Like, how did your transition work with the whole COVID situation?
That's a great question. So, fortunately enough, I take a lot of data, a lot of statistics, and I got a full team. It's not just me that runs my business. And so we were already doing online training before COVID hit. We were about a year and a half, almost 2 years into that. So when COVID hit, it only allowed our business to actually skyrocket more because online training space, and we're also in product space. So when COVID hit, everybody was scrambling for dumbbells, kettlebells, and any kind of accessories that they could use to get their hands on to do in-home training. We already had an in-home training system. We also have speed agility, which you don't need any equipment for. And we also have a line of equipment that ranges all the way from speed training bands, basically like those mini bands that you put on your legs. We have we have many different variations of that, from ankles to knees and just the normal mini bands, all the way to jump bands, from cones and stability balls, and all kinds of stuff. And so when it hit, and Amazon was selling out, Walmart was selling out, everybody's selling out. Well, we keep a lot of stock. And so we were just literally, people were buying all the stuff from us. So we actually skyrocketed during COVID. Whereas if you were a trainer and you were solely only in the, one-on-one, or you actually had to go to the trainer, small groups, teams, then you're going to probably get hit hard because your whole business was you having to be there. Whereas I knew long ago, if I want to replicate my business at a very high level, that I needed to replicate me, and I need to give it to you online in a great package and format that you could still learn as if I was, teaching you there one-on-one. And so a couple of years ago, that started our business, and I never really thought of it. And I actually had a business partner that approached me and said, hey, you got a great personality and enthusiasm. I mean, very energetic, and people relate to you and your story. Like, I talked about, fighting adversity and getting cut and starting it from nothing and starting to build that up. So he's like, you should start doing stuff online. So we started to, work on that. And I built a lot of free things, like I had said before. And I think that's number one for anybody trying to grow a business. We had grown or started like a 7-phase plyometric series that we call it. So for elite level jumping, to increase your explosiveness. And we made it free. And all you had to do is give us your emails. And so we made that series, and it got like 10,000 emails within like a month. And then from there, we said, okay, people like this stuff, and now we have their information. Let's build a program. So I took about 2 months, and I actually did all the videotaping myself, did all the iMovie myself. It took me a long time to do it all, the editing. I don't have any editing background or skills, but I did that just so I could understand the nuances and what it takes to put into it. And I built this program called the Sports Performance Training Program, Volume Number 1. It involves a gym, it involves equipment and all that stuff. But it was my takeaway on how you, as an athlete, can get explosive no matter what sport you play. And it literally sold like tens of thousands of copies with, from January when we launched it all the way, that next 6 months. So it went huge. It went viral. We had a lot of great feedback from it. And so from then we were lucky enough to hire actually a real video photographer. Like he's on board, he's on the team, and literally all he does is follow me all day. And all we do is take videos and we, all that kind of stuff and make ads. And we got a whole ad team now, but we literally started off with just me and my business partner. And now we've made, from that program, we made another 5-6 programs. And it's just all tailored on quality, giving out the best information at a very, very high level. It is built for coaches, athletes, and parents. So no matter who you are, if you're a coach that's trying to figure out and trying to learn a new program and really trying to dial in and get your athletes better, then that's for you. If you're an athlete that has no idea where to start and you want to become an elite level athlete and take it to that next level, programs for you. If you're a parent that wants to train your athlete, then this is a program that allows you to get a little bit more information and knowledge to do that. So we really kind of hit everywhere, but I don't even know where I am with the question.
That's okay. You're doing great.
They're just, always trying to perform and take it to a next level. And so, yeah, from the original question, our business grew during COVID because we were already established. And I already seen many years ago, not that there was going to be COVID, but I knew that everything was going online. Plus, I was tired and I couldn't work 10-hour days. That's another reason why I couldn't work 10-hour days. I was just getting way too tired, and it takes a lot of stress on your personal life. So the only way that you can replicate yourself is to sell yourself online. Or the other part where I really, really loved is that I was really innovative and I started to build equipment. So I started to build equipment. So then if I wanted to train an athlete, let's say in Europe, then that athlete could still work on the Pierre's Living Performance system and use our training equipment, and they would be, I would have some kind of touch, and I'm kind of now training them with my equipment as well. So, that's when we built the equipment and built the line equipment that we can kind of also help us in all kinds of different ways, but a whole bunch of stuff.
What type of equipment did you make, Shea?
Yeah, so we had created, so we have our mini bands, and everybody's got mini bands, but the mini bands and the loops, they fall off. Wish I had something on me right now, but they fall off. Like if you start to do like band walks, or if you lose tension against the band, they kind of just fall off. So we created these bands, and there was other bands similar on the market. We reinforced them. We built them a lot more, strength in it, different type of things that would allow the bands to be a little more sturdier, last longer, and have a little bit more tension, and be able to move more functionally as an athlete. So we basically have these bands, and they go around your knees, if you can picture it. But there's 2 straps, one on your right, one on your left, and then a band attaches to both sides of the legs. So the bands will never fall off. And you can literally do all your exercises, no matter what it is in the gym, a lunge, a squat, a step up, a side lunge, any type of those exercises, you can do those exercises and add this as extra resistance. Or if you're an athlete that doesn't have any dumbbells or kettlebells, you can do it with them but we use it a lot for our speed, agility, all of our quickness drills, reaction drills, because it just builds and builds stronger glutes, hamstrings, quads. It builds the whole lower body system to get stronger and more efficient. So when you take them off, you've either really worked on your strength and stability, or you're using it for just kind of priming and activating the muscles before you maybe go into your workout or into your game or with practice, whatever it is. So we built that with a whole bunch of stuff. Like we built cones. I got some cones in here in inventory. Like we got some cones here. And literally these cones, not only do they look cool, but they stack. Reaction drills on here, and they stick to each other. And so we can do a whole bunch of different drills, but nobody's ever built cones like that. It's just different kinds of things that I kind of create. Then I work with my manufacturers down in China, and we kind of just get things going. It takes a while, but after about 6 months to a year, we've created something new. And and improve for the industry. And it allows us to, grow not only as, a company, but athletes and coaches that want to help improve their athletes.
I'm really fascinated, Shay, with like innovation. So like you making your own equipment, I find really interesting. And I've been trying like during this COVID thing just to read about innovative stuff. Constantly learning. That's the thing, Shay. Like probably have something like that in common where it's constantly learning whatever you do. But let's transition to this, Shay. So why did you want to focus on speed training?
So when you go into the strength and conditioning field, it's very it's really saturated. And you can go to a big box gym, Good Life, Anytime Fitness, 24-hour fitness, whatever it is, YMCA, and it's all the same things. You're going to go in there and it's going to be, squats, deadlifts, bench press. And so how do I market to an audience of athletes and really try to engage and capture them and get them to come train with me? So I did, like I said before, I do a lot of data and analysis, and I would send a lot of emails out, and I would always ask questions in the emails when I was asking kids what they want to get better at. And the one thing they always said wasn't that they want to get stronger first, is that they always want to get faster, they want to get quicker, they want to get more reactive, they want to get more dynamic, they want to get more explosive. So when I gathered all this, and we'd take hundreds of emails, and it would be always the same thing. First thing, I want to get faster. So it wasn't the strength component. And so I said, we're going to build a business model around getting athletes faster, quicker, more reactive, more elusive. All those, kind of buzzwords that you would say, we're going to build it around that. Even I teach right now, speed, because it's all about speed. And what was I great at as an athlete? I was fast. I was quick. I was very reactive to the ball. I could move really well. And as a defensive back, that's the position I played. I say that's the hardest position in football, is to be a defensive back, because not only are you going backwards, but you have to now guard a guy that's running full speed in front of you and be able to move with him and react and change directions exactly what he's doing. So when I took my skills as a defensive back and my know-how from my background as a strength coach, I could couple those together, and I created a really great program around building athletes and their abilities and their skills to be a greater athlete when they hit their sport of play. And so when I started to advertise to athletes, it was always, I can get you faster. And they say, how? Well, here's the ways I can do it. And don't worry about lifting weights and getting bigger, stiffer, slower, because you're going to lift like a bodybuilder. I'm going to teach you how to lift your, I'm going to teach you how to train your body functionally in the right movement patterns, the innate movement patterns that are going to keep you safe. It's going to keep you durable. It's going to keep you feeling really sharp and quick when you're on the field or the ice or the pitch or whatever it is. And it would resonate with them. And they would say, yeah, I don't have to go to the gym and lift really heavy weights, because yeah, it's going to get you bigger, but it could get you stiffer. It could get you slower. And it's just not going to, because you ever see real big bodybuilders? Well, you go put them on the field, they don't move well, right? So when you think about that in terms of, like I'll have people come to me and be like, well, I want to lose weight. I want to look like, that lady on the TV or that guy on the TV, like a Usain Bolt. I want to look like that. Well, the only way to look like that is to run, right? So if you want to look like this, you have to train like this. So that's how we built our business, all around being explosive. So then when I narrowed it down and said, this is what I'm going to do, all the focus went into finding every drill. Literally, I went all around North America, flights, planes, a car, train. I walked places, a bus. I went everywhere I could, met all the coaches I could find, read all the books, went YouTube, went all over, high-level journal articles on Google Scholar, everything I could, just to learn about everything I could about speed and the body and how it moves. And we just built a program based around that. When a coach comes to me, they don't come to say, I need to get my guy stronger. They say, well, we want to get him faster, right? What's the first thing you do? You got to get to the ball. You got to get to the ball. You got to get to the puck. You got to get there first. When you get there, right, now you have a better opportunity to win the game. Get the last basket, get the last goal. So, everything we talk about when we talk about with coaches and parents is we got to get you faster. It's a number one thing. Because we're not all born with speed. We're all born to move, and I can teach you how to do it. Now, will I get you to Usain Bolt speed? Probably not. That's more genetic. but I can teach you how to change directions more efficiently, more effectively, to get you in and out of your break, to be a game-changing athlete, so you're not false stepping, so you're not, losing, momentum, you're not losing ground, you're gaining ground, so you're just a step ahead of everybody else. That we can teach. That we can teach.
So Shay, what are some of the ways where you can improve speed for anyone that is listening or watching?
Yeah, so there's plenty of ways we could really improve on speed. The number one thing, especially at a young age, is we work on what we call deceleration. So basically, learning to slow down, come to balance, and have body control. Learning to have body control is literally number one. If you can't slow down and then speed up, so accelerate, then you're never going to be able to make a play. It's like I'm trying to run for a ball, and basically that's somebody else running for the ball. They get there first, and I got to be able to slow down, or they're just going to take off. And if I can't slow down properly, then I'm always going to lose the race or whatever. But so you got to be able to have great body control. So we always teach deceleration as our number one skill, and then we'll start to work on what we call change of direction. So that is a pre-planned scenario. So we'll put cones, basically, like say I put like a 4-cone drill, and basically I just run around the cones and like a square box, but I'm teaching you how to decelerate, stay in a straight line, keep on point A to B, so we can get you there faster. So we're not rounding the cuts. We're not all over the place. And then we start to teach them how to work on what we call reaction. So agility components. So be able to react to a stimulus. That's basically you're reacting to like a wide defensive back is reacting to a wide receiver. Someone on defense in basketball is reacting to the offensive player. So you're reacting to somebody that has the ball. You're trying to keep up with them. And so you have to work all those different phases separately in order to get an athlete to that next level. And you also have to work on strength, but you have to work on body weight strength. So being able to learn how to do a proper lunge, right? Side lunge, front lunge, back lunge, to become stable and strong in those positions. We work a lot of isometric holds. We also push-ups and pull-ups. Those are my core fundamental movements that you always have to be able to do before we even start lifting weights. And most athletes that come, even if they're at a high level like high school or college, some of them still lack that ability, right? They don't have a really good, what we call, motor unit control. Central nervous system is kind of whacked. They're not moving right. And, stick muscles in their body are firing and aren't kind of stabilizing where they need to. And so there's a lot of things at play. So we kind of really bring it back down to the basics. And then we have to teach you how to move properly as well, which I think is really a detriment. We've started to decode athletes. And so we use a philosophy called the GOTA philosophy, and it just works on reprogramming your central nervous system to its innate movement patterns that you literally were born with as a baby. Or if you look back at the indigenous people and the way that they move, there's a few different ways. So there's two ways that you can create force and pressure and explosiveness. It's either off the inside edge of your foot, and I'll explain more in a second, or on the outside edge of your foot. If you're creating pressure off the inside edge of your foot, basically if you watch somebody walk and from behind and their heels are going in, they're basically pushing off the big toe and off the inside edge of your foot. The inside edge of your foot is the destructive side of your foot. So if you plant and put all the force and neural output into the ground, what happens is that the arch of your foot collapses in. And when that collapses in, it sends a spiral effect all the way up the joints. So then your knee, what we call, goes into valgus. That kind of goes inwards. The hip then shifts, your body shifts, and all the load goes into that knee. And that's where it can cause an ACL injury or any kind of knee injury or like an Achilles shred. And so you don't want to be pushing off the inside edge. But a lot of athletes push off the inside edge because our central nervous system is a servant to its environment. So that's why I always say you have to be very careful with the training that you do, because if you're training things like Olympic lifting, or if you're squatting and your feet are out like a duck, or a few other kinds of things, or doing hip thrusts with your heels down into the ground, you're never doing that in your sport. And so you're pushing off the inside edge. Or if you're lifting super, super heavy, like a bodybuilder or power lifter, what will happen is if you got like 300-400 pounds on and you're in the bottom position, a lot of times you'll watch people and their knees will cave in. Well, the only way their knees cave in, they can create pressure to stand back up, is if they put pressure at their inside edge. So they're learning how to put pressure in the wrong area. So when they put their foot down in the ground, now their foot is in a predisposed position to get injured. Now, on the flip side, the safety is on the outside edge of your foot. So basically, on the fourth and fifth metatarsals of the feet, the whole outside edge of your foot, that's where the innate safety is. And instead of your knee caving in, you create like a bow in your knee. So think about somebody that's bow-legged. They got this kind of bow in their knee. That's safety. So that's what's going to allow you to really load up into the glute and be able to create and absorb the load, and then be able to absorb, load, and then explode out of the positions with great safety and durability, but be able to do it in a safe way. But the way that is patterned into your body is you have to now do things that you were doing as a baby, but we've lost it in either the three ways I spoke about. Well, I didn't speak about all of them, but the one is so we double down on the lifting engine, which is lifting. Lifting has killed us as athletes. Second is we live sedentary lifestyles, so a lot of us are sitting. So I sit differently. Like I'll sit on a special chair, and I'll sit like this. Like if you're watching an indigenous person or somebody like a baby, my son, he plays like this. His hips are cornered. His hips are cornered. His heels are away. So basically, like I told you guys before, when you walk, you can either walk on the inside edge or you can pivot off the outside edge of your foot and the heel goes away. The greatest athletes in the world, that's what they do. That's what indigenous people do. That's what babies do. Babies crawl. They create pressure, spiral from one side of your body, and it spirals to the other side of your body. So if you ever see somebody walking and their shoulders are swaying from side to side, and you think, oh, that person's walking with some swag in their step. They got some style, man. They're probably on Dancing with the Stars. Well, it's because they're taking all this energy from one side of your body, and then they're spinning it to the other side of your body. So what's happened is that everybody thinks that, or a lot of people in the industry, they think that everything's an up and down linear motion, like a Lego man, like a Tin Man. Like I'm going to do a step up or a lunge, and it's just straight ahead like this. But everything is a rotary pivot point action. So really what I mean by that is everything spirals. So I spiral everything from this side of my body, okay, like a tornado, and it spirals to the other side of my body. So everything pivots. If you watch a baby crawls, right? A baby crawls. They move from side to side, right? Animals, you ever seen animals? They move from side to side, right? The world, it spins. The air in our nostrils right now is spinning. Everything spins. It creates pressure waves. So the body is no different, but we've created this, Tin Man action. Everything's up and down, linear type motion, but everything moves. The trunk's supposed to move from side to side. And so we've gone back to a more innate way of training, which is kind of now starting to hit some head waves. And I think we're on the forefront of really changing the industry and changing. And I used to train like that because all in college, it was powerlifting, it was hang cleaning, it was Olympic lifting. It was just trying to get bigger, stronger, but really it was detrimenting my body as an athlete. So when you start to think as the body as a rotary pivot point system, creating energy, spiraling that energy from one side to the other, then you start to really I know I'm going all over the place, but that's just how the body moves. And we're trying to get back to that. And, maybe if you're listening to this, it might be a little bit tougher. Go on my Instagram. You'll see everybody moving like that, and how we kind of train the body. But you can literally think about it. Why is there two ways that people walk? Why do people have heels in? And why do people have heels out? There's got to be a right way. Watch the baby, watch the indigenous, right? Watch people, Mother Nature. Everything spirals. Everything moves in spirals. Watch the water comes out like this. Watch your drill comes out with spirals. Everything spirals. So the body's got to be the same way. And if it doesn't work like that, you're more prone to injury. It's a pivot point. You got to pivot off the outside edge. The heel's got to go away. Your knee's got to turn in. That's the safest way. People don't understand. I'll do a quick demonstration. The knee doesn't go in like this. I got these knee pads on. That's just the way I sit. But the knee doesn't go in like this. It can't, right? The knee just goes like this. That's all it does. Right? Everything else, it moves. Right? The joints move in my ankle, joints move my hip. So you have to pivot, right, my foot and my hip together, and my knee stays safe. And that's how you walk, right? Boom. You pivot. Knee goes in, safely. It pivots in. Now, if my knee goes like this, remember I talked about You let your heel drop down. You push off the inside edge. My knee falls down with it. Boom. That's where the injury is right there. That doesn't look good. That doesn't look good at all. It's got to turn with it. Think about, where do you get all your power from as an athlete? Where does a boxer get his power from? Gets it from the foot, from the pivot. It turns. It pivots, right? You think about baseball players, right? It pivots, right? Football players, right? Quarterback, it pivots and turns, right? Everything pivots. So when I'm doing my training, why would I work the pivot action to get faster and more explosive and be safer? When I sprint, hey, you watch sprinters from behind, they pivot and turn, hey, as they push through the ground. It pivots and turns to get momentum in a forward locomotive pattern. Everything is rotary. Everything pivots and spirals. And when people start to work that, accompanied with all the stuff I told before, learning how to decelerate, learning change of direction, learning agility, their gains go through the roof. But it's very untapped right now. And I think the go-to philosophy, that's the philosophy and the methodology I just spoke about. When you add that in, you're night and day. All the pain goes away. And I'll leave you with this one point before we go off. So I was injured. Just was like some chronic hamstring and groin injury, probably like 6-7 months ago. Just from wear and tear of moving so much in training. And I can never get rid of it, even with all the stuff that I've done in my career and learning how to create, develop that knowledge of really rehabbing the body. I couldn't figure it out. The doctors I was going around couldn't figure out why my internal external rotation was tight, but why I was getting so much pain. And it was chronic all the time. So what they do is, a lot of people have these issues: back problems, hip problems, foot problem, knee problems, and they go to the doctor, and the doctor takes a needle and they put acupuncture in there, they put their stim in there, they put their laser therapy, they put their ultrasound, and it goes away for a day or two and it just comes back and it repeats itself over and over and over. Just put ice on it, whatever, just heat on it, and it just keeps coming back. Because what they're doing is they're just training the innate problem, which is just the muscle. You're just training the muscle. What you're not training is the pattern. What people have to understand is you need to train pattern and not muscle. So what I mean by that is, I was working my hamstrings, but I wasn't moving the right pattern. So I was an inside edge heel pusher, finish with the big toe. Never. You want to land on the outside and push and let the body sway from side to side. Once I created and fixed my innate pattern of movement, all my pain went away. Any issue I ever had, like I would have a back spasm once in a while, I was just moving too much. Why at 30 years old am I going to have a back spasm? Right? Why is my tissue breaking down at 30 years old when you have an indigenous person that walks 15 miles a day to go get their food? You know what I mean? And they're running, sprinting, all this kind of stuff, but they're doing all that stuff with with no shoes on. Shoes have killed us. Shoes have just taken us back as a culture really bad, because what we're doing is we're putting support upon support. What were you born with? Arch support. So why would you put another piece of support on the support you're supposed to have, and then that arch support becomes lazy, it deactivates, it doesn't want to work anymore, it doesn't want to do its job, so it just kind of sits there. And what happens to that arch? If you see my foot again, it just sits there and then it just dumps in. And then you see people with flat feet, Achilles-itis, Achilles issues, knee issues, all these problems because their feet aren't working problem. So what does the industry do? They say, oh, here's arch. Let me give you orthotics. Let me just sit that foot up and just hold it there. Well, why don't I make my foot stronger? Why don't I work the small intrinsic muscles of my feet? Why don't I work my lateral and my medial calf so my calves get stronger? Why don't I work all? But they don't want to do that, right? So us as a society, we've just taken such a step back, and we move so bad as a modern day society, but because we're stuck. All we do is we sit all day. We get short and tight, long and tight in the back. Sorry, short and tight in the front, long and tight in the back, short in the hip flexors. Right? That's why I sit on the ground. I sit on the ground. I got great mobility in my hips. Like if you went to go sit on the ground right now, your probably knees and your quads would hurt so bad, and it did for me. Your back would start to hurt because you would want to have to round because it's not strong enough to hold you up in this nice posture. You sit on the couch all day or sit on the chair, your back becomes lazy. It don't want to work. And then you wonder why, you're 30, 40 years old and you're starting to get back problems. You're starting to get sciatica. You're sitting all day. Right? So you got to kind of think about it. And we've gone in a long tangent of one for speed training. But if you want to get faster as an athlete, and I tell my athletes now this, you got to first train that way. You have to change your lifestyle. You have to literally change the shoes you wear, the clothes, the food you eat. It goes deeper than anything if you want to get that result, right? I'm 6.5% body fat, very lean. I can move well now. I'm the best shape of my life. I think I'm better shape than I was when I was 20, getting ready for the CFL draft, just because the way I move, I changed my movement patterns. And some of the best, so you look at a guy like Michael Jordan, he moved better than anybody in the entire world. He had all the GOAT, the greatest of all time actions that you could think about. Just a great mover. But what did he do? He did a lot of rotary action. So not only did he play basketball, but he played tennis, a rotary system sport where you have to heel away, pivot point, baseball. He did all these sports that allowed that natural ability. And he didn't get decoded with all this weightlifting because back when he was growing up, weightlifting wasn't a thing yet. So he didn't really do it at all, right? They didn't really have all these amazing Nike, Adidas, Reebok shoes. They were wearing Converse, flat foot shoes. Get yourself a minimalist flat surface shoe. It's all you need, right? Go callous the feet. Go callous your feet. Not only got to callous your feet, you got to callous your mind. A lot of people have weak mind, but we can go into a whole much stuff. But you got to callous that up. Callous your hands. Everything's got to be strong. But it's just not nowadays. And so I get these athletes that are literally sometimes they'll come, they're in grade 3, they're in grade 4, and they're so decoded. They move so bad, so stiff that, I look at their parents and I'm like, it's going to be a while until we get any results because I literally got to change his whole lifestyle. Like you see those huge, Nike Airs that he's wearing. We got to get rid of those $250. Go buy a 30 pair of Chucks, right? Just get them back into there. I don't want them wearing no shoes anywhere else. Let's just get these kids back.
That's a good segue to this, Shea. It's recovery for athletes, because you mentioned like a lot of athletes have back pain or they get injured a lot. As I mentioned when we were off there, like I'm trying to get back in shape. So what are the best recovery methods for athletes?
Okay, so the best recovery methods for athletes, majority, about 80% are all free. And the number one thing is it's sleep, right? You need to get good sleep. That's where the body is going to help repair itself. It's going to allow your body to become fresh for the next session, whatever it is. If you don't allow your body, because what happens in a training session? We're getting bigger and stronger and faster, yes, in a training session, but that doesn't happen until our body actually recovers. We're actually breaking our body down during the session. So say you're lifting weights, well, you're tearing muscle fibers. So yes, you have to wait 2 or 3 days until it repairs itself in order to get the results. And the only way you can is if you get proper sleep to allow that recovery to happen. And then you can take hot Epsom salt baths. You can go into ice tubs, which are free, contrast showers that are free, right? Just cold water to help the body repair itself, get new blood circulation. Also food. And we all know, and it's funny because I'll talk to young kids, I'll talk to parents, I'll talk to people. We all know what good and bad food is, right? You got to think of your body as like a Ferrari, like a fast car, a premium car that takes premium gas. And you ain't going to give McDonald's to a premium car. Like, you don't even want that in your car, right? You don't want that shit in. You don't want that grease falling on the car. You don't want shitty gas for that. You wouldn't put regular gas in a Ferrari. So you got to think of yourself as a Ferrari. You wouldn't put any of that stuff close to you. You wouldn't fuel yourself with that. Yeah, you want to drink water, right? You want to have a lot of leafy greens and vegetables, right? A lot of those good antioxidants. You want to get a lot of good vegetables in your body, right? Blueberries, raspberries, all those good, nutritious foods. Rice, sweet potatoes as good carbohydrates to fuel your body with good energy for performance. Lean chicken, steak, all that good, healthy food, right? That's what's going to give your body the energy it needs. And a lot of people will go to like a fast food restaurant, and then when they're finished eating, they feel sluggish, they feel slow because your body doesn't know what to do with that crap. Right? It just sits there, turns to fat, turns to waste. Right? You go to the washroom, you have stomach aches, you have pain. It's deteriorating your insides. But when you eat a good, healthy, balanced meal with all the right essential carbs and proteins and fats, it's going to give you energy. It's going to give you fuel to go to that next session. And that's what you need. So, and it's super, super simple. It's not like I have to give you some overcomplicated diet. All you got to do is eat a good, healthy food, get proper sleep. You can do some light stretching, some static stretching, some dynamic stretching at home to kind of loosen up the joints and get some more mobility and flexibility. And you just sleep. And literally, it's that easy. I think we've made it so complicated. And if you're an athlete that wants to get faster, well, go to the park and just sprint some hills, put some cones out, take a ladder out. It's not rocket science. If I go do that instead of sitting on the couch and playing video games, I'm already a step ahead of you. It's just a game of inches, right? Late Kobe Bryant, he'd wake up and go start shooting the ball around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Go again in the afternoon around 1, 2, maybe go at night. He's got 3 sessions in compared to the person that's only got 1, maybe the person that goes every other day. He got so much accumulation. By the time that he was 18, 19, 20 years old, he was already tens of thousands of hours ahead of everybody. You can't keep up. You can't now get to his level just because he's put in more time and more accumulated hours that now he's risen above that you can't catch. Like I tell each one of my athletes at each session, if I tell you to do 10 push-ups today, do an extra 1, do an extra 2 push-ups today, do an extra 5. Every session you do that in a year, if I'm a guy that only did 10, compared in a year, let's just say, how many sessions we got, maybe 500 push-ups in. So compared to the guy that did an extra 5, maybe now he's got, from a guy that does 500, now he's got 5,000 push-ups. You can't catch that guy now. It's impossible. You can't. And if he does it for 5 years, he's too far ahead. Then you're scratching your head saying, why is that guy so much better? He just put in more time, right? I don't know. We're going off in tangents, but it's so simple, and I try to make it so simple for athletes. You don't got to overthink things. Either you want it or you don't, right? You're your self-driver and your self-motivator. You know how bad you want it. It's what you do when nobody else is watching that's really going to make you successful, right? I could tell you I'm going to do something, but it will show, especially in individual sports. Like if I'm going to go do a cross-country race, I'm going to do a sprint race. I got tennis. I'm doing golf. Everything is going to show up. I'm doing MMA. If I wasn't practicing, it's going to show up. In team sports, it doesn't show up as much all the time because you can rely on other people around you to kind of take the brunt and the load. But when your time's up and it's your turn to bat and you strike out 3 times and you've been striking out all year long, we know you didn't put in no work. So, and I always tell the athletes straight up, I'm like, hey, I wouldn't want. I tell them straight up, I wouldn't want you on my team if you're a guy that's not going to put in any work. Right? And I don't just need any work. I need your best work, right? You are your walking resume. And I always tell people that you're the walking resume of your dreams, goals, and aspirations. And I know that I gave myself an opportunity. But most of these athletes nowadays, they're too babied. Everybody, the kid that comes to 100th place, he gets a ribbon. He's allowed to make the team. And he just has nothing to fight for. He's got nothing to persevere into battle.
Agree with you because everybody, as you mentioned, like everybody gets a participation trophy, which I do not understand. And I don't know what it is, and I don't know where it went, but like constructive criticism, it seems like it's gone. Like it's gone in our society. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because social media.
Right?
Yeah.
And everybody wants to feel that they did something, that they're entitled to something. Right? Everybody wants to, and that doesn't matter on your skin color, or your gender, or whatever it is. Everybody wants to feel good, like they've done something, to accomplish something, and it's just not like that. We're giving away that ability to learn and to fight and to go through adversity, go through hardships. We're giving people the easy way nowadays. Not people, young people. We're just literally handing them the keys. And it's not as easy because when it does get hard, that's when they break down because they don't know what to do. They never fought through anything. Like when I was, and I'll go back and I'll tell a quick story. When I was in the CFL, I got cut from the end. So I don't even tell us a lot, but I got cut from the Edmonton Eskimos. And that was during training camp, the second week of training camp. So training camp wasn't even finished yet. I was one of the first cuts to go home. I went home, and it's not like I could just jump onto another team because training camp was still going, and then they make their final roster. It's hard to get in for a little while until people get hurt. And I hadn't at this point, I hadn't even created my business model or plan yet to create a business. And so when I got home, I literally had no money. I spent all my off season using that money to train and get better and, to live. And so I came home and I literally had to find a way to make money. And because I didn't know when my time was going to go back to the CFL. So I went on Kijiji and I went to like the ads where people needed help. And I found someone that was looking for somebody to help some demolition of basement. And I wouldn't even recommend anybody doing this, but I drove about 45 minutes to somebody's house, went into their basement, and it could have been some creep weirdo. I have no idea. But it worked out that this guy offered me a job just demoing basements. And then I found another job where I was literally in a hot weather during the summer, mixing cement and bringing stones and to a masonry guy building backyard stuff. I don't know what he's doing, but long story short, I did that for 2 months every single day. I think I was making like $15 an hour at one job, $12.50 at another one. Slave labor. At the end of the day, I'll make like $120. I was working like 10 hours days, just dying. And then I got a phone call from my agent saying, hey, the Ottawa Red Blacks want to are having a tryout tomorrow with just 5 guys, and they want you to come down there for a tryout. And I had literally just finished a shift, and they wanted me there the next morning, and I just finished a shift, and I was there all day. It was like 8 a.m., and I'm like, oh, shoot. I'm like, all right. So I drove to Ottawa like at 9 o'clock at night, got there, I think maybe around just after midnight, and then I did the tryout. It didn't end up taking me, but I remember being so exhausted from doing that tryout. Then I drove home, and then I was like, man, I got to get back on a CFL team. This is literally going to kill me. And in that moment, I said, the only thing I've ever wanted to do is become like a trainer. And I said to myself, man, this is such hard labor. This is so tough. When I get my next opportunity, I'm just going to save all my money, and I just want to build something with training. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do something with training. I'm just going to save my money up. And literally the next week, I got on to Winnipeg Blue Bombers, played the next 8 games there all on the practice roster. And I saved up all my money, plus a little bit of money I had from the summer and whatever I had in savings from CFL. And that's where the next year I had built my business. But it was off of all that adversity and having to work hard, and literally slave labor for a whole 2 months in the summertime until I got back into a team. But in that time, I told myself, I'm gonna take this money. I'm gonna do everything I can and never do this again. Never do this again. So I don't have to put myself. And now it's sad because I have a lot of friends that the CFL isn't on right now, and they banked their whole life and playing in the Canadian Football League, and now there's no league, and now they're out of a job, and they can't even find a job because of COVID, because there's so many layoffs. They can't even get a job. These are football guys that are doing Ubers and whatever it is to find money. And because it's like we put our whole livelihood into this, and then when all of a sudden when something bad happens, we have to figure out a way. And so those guys are figuring out a way, and they're figuring out a way now, and they'll be better off for us when the CFL does come back on. They already have an understanding of what they want to do. But that's what happened to me. Nobody handed me anything in that time period. I literally had to find a way to make ends meet. It was a very difficult time.
But Shea, you overcame it. And one of the videos I saw on your Instagram page was The Rock, and he was talking about purchasing the XFL. And I really hope The Rock turns the XFL into like a feeder system to the NFL, and then the CFL can be a part of the XFL, so it could be one league to feeder the NFL. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think that would be a really great change, I think, for football, especially in North America. But what do you think?
We need more football organizations, because really all there is the NFL and the CFL. It's not like hockey or baseball or basketball, whereas if I got cut, then maybe I have an opportunity to go to Europe or China or travel somewhere else, still make some money, get to see the world, and still play at a very high level. all there is if you don't make the NFL and you don't make the CFL, your literally football career is done. Like you can go play in the men's league, but you literally got to find a job. You're not going to make money playing football. And so there's 9 teams in the CFL, 31 teams in the NFL, 32, something like that. So you got about 40, 41 teams. That's not a lot of teams in the world to play for. And when majority of the NFL, like 98% are all Americans that played at D1 schools, and then all the NFL, or all those guys that don't make the NFL come to the CFL, where it's saturated with all American players, your odds as a Canadian player like myself are like even worse to make the league, right? Because our development system is just not there yet. So it makes it a lot more difficult, especially, and as a skill position player, it's even more difficult. So you really got to be head and heels above everybody else and work your butt off from a young age to get one of those spots, because not a lot of them. You're literally the 1% in the world that make a professional football league. So we need another professional football league like the XFL that can help start to allow people to have more spots available to play at a high level.
That makes sense. Shea, let's end on with this, because I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts are. So what are the stages that you would recommend to take to get to the level that you want?
So as like a professional coach that wants to get to this level of coaching, or like somebody that wants to just get healthy, fit, and wants to work out?
Both.
So it could be very simple for both of them. So if you're if you're somebody that wants to become a professional coach, then and you're in high school, go to university, get yourself a degree in science, kinesiology, somewhere in that background, or you can go to college and do health studies or something like that. You can do internships with other coaches. Maybe you don't have the money to go to university, or you don't have the means to go to college. You can find, like, we have interns. Like, you can maybe go to somebody that's been doing it for a long time, that's been in the industry, and just learn from them. It's like if I want to learn about cars, right? I'll go to a mechanic and I'll just study under him, right? And I'll learn everything I can about the cars, and I'll learn that way, right? Or if I'm an apprentice doing plumber and piping, you can learn that way as well. There's different ways if you just don't have the means. And then once you're in there, you can get different certifications. You can get a CSCS. You can get and that's like kind of the number one certification you can get. And it doesn't mean you need it, but those are just things if you want to go to a higher level, you want to train at a professional level like myself, or at a college in the United States, or so if you need some certain certifications, or you can just go get a personal training certificate, like a CanFit Pro or something, just to get you in the door of a personal training studio. Then if you're someone that just wants to get fit, first you got to know. I always ask, what is your goals? Like, what's your end goal? What do you want? You want to lose weight? You want to get faster? Do you want to jump higher? What is your end goal? Once you understand the end goal, it's easier then to break it down, going towards that. So once you figure out that, then you can seek out a trainer that masters in whatever you want to do. Or if you can't afford a trainer, then you yourself just say, okay, I want to get faster, which is what I do. So why don't I just go on YouTube and just write, how to get faster, speed and agility, explosive drills. You can easily just go on there. If you're an athlete listening to this, go on YouTube, and you can even type in my name, Shea Pierre speed training. And I have so much free content on there that you can literally go on there right away and go to the park, no equipment needed, and I will be right there, and it will literally show you how to do the drills. Or you could go purchase a program for next to nothing, right? You can go, so many people sell programs. We sell programs, everybody. So it just depends on what you want to do, what your end goal is, and then you just got to figure out a way to get there. It's just super simple. If I want to jump higher, I'll go buy a book that says Jump Higher. I'll go type it into Google, go onto YouTube, or I'll find somebody that on Instagram nowadays that tag in Jump Higher on the hashtags, and you'll find a coach that can help you jump higher. It's super simple. Everything's at our fingertips. You don't have to overcomplicate it with these overcomplicated systems. It's just, you just got to get out there and do it.
Totally agree. Shea, before we go, what's kind of the future with your organization? What are you promoting right now? What type of programs are you sharing with?
Yeah, so we're always trying to re-innovate, reformulate, and kind of take it to that next level. So where I'm going to be in, the next few months is we're going to be developing new systems that are built around speed, agility, and we have so many things that are already on apps and that are developed for that. But we're going to start kind of taking it back just a little bit and working on some of the things that I spoke about before with the innate movement patterns with GOTA. And they actually are going to do a collaboration program with us so we can start to kind of integrate that system into what we're doing. And then from there, we're just constantly just trying to, whatever people need help with, they just go on our comment page, our Instagram page in their comment sections, YouTube in the comment sections, and people tell me what they're looking for all the time. And I actually really do appreciate that, because that allows me, if somebody's got that, they want a drill to help them decelerate and we don't got a lot of it, then we'll start developing drills on like that. Because if you have the same question and you have the same issue, there's probably more of you that have that issue. So we'll build programs off of that, and we'll just keep taking data and statistics and seeing what people need, what they need help with, and we'll help them from there. The best thing you can do as a coach is to just offer your services and show people what you can do. And from there, you literally are going to be able to create a business, because you're helping people, you're solving a problem. Anytime you can solve a problem, you got a business. That's basically how businesses become, feasible. People buy them because you're solving an issue for them. So once you give it away for free and you start solving those issues for people, then they have more inclined to buy it from you, because if you've already solved an issue for them once, they trust you to solve it again. And that's how we take our business.
Shea, can't thank you enough for doing this. This was like a training session for me, and I hope people that watch this get that feeling too, because it was a lot of great insight that you gave. I admire you very much, and I look at your Instagram page all the time. And if you're listening to this rather than watching on YouTube, I recommend watching this on YouTube, because you gave a lot of great demonstrations that were really, really cool. So thank you, Shea, and all the best to you and your family.
Absolutely. Stay blessed. Thank you for having me on. I really do appreciate it. You're doing an amazing job. I've watched a lot of your podcasts. I recently just watched one with Jim Barker. He's actually the one that assigned me to the Toronto Argonauts when I got drafted there. So that was one that intrigued me the most to go watch. So that was great to see an insight on what he was doing and how he's doing now, and his kind of rise to where he was. So it's just amazing to kind of see what you're doing and all the positivity that you're sharing with the world. And it's just great to be on here and get to be a part of it.
Cool. Thank you, Shea. Bye, everybody.